I'm Radhisha. Very happy to have you with us, and thank you so much for all your comments. It's very encouraging to read them after. So anyway, let's chant together. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimate Siddha Swarapananda Paramahamsa Iti Namine Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimate Siddha Swarapananda Paramahamsa Iti Namine Namo Siddha Swarapananda Paramahamsa Namine Gaurakarana Swarabhaya Radha Krishna Prastayate Namo Siddha Swarapananda Paramahamsa Gaurakarana Swarabhaya Radha Krishna Prastayate Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deva Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Vaskacha Desatayane Namaste Saraswati Deva Gauravani Pracharine Sunyavadi Vaskacha Desatayane Raja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhaktivinoda Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhaktivinoda Raja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhaktivinoda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhaktivinoda Raja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhaktivinoda Raja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Raja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Jaya Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Srila Prabhupada, Jaya 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 Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Srila Prabhupada. Haribo.
Haribo. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivajigata Sarashishima Jagakuru Siddhaswarupananda Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivajigata Sarashishima His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koda Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Nitai Gaur's World Mission Ki Jai Nabadhi Dhamma Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Shamakun Radhakun Giri Govardhana Ki Jai Vrindavan Ki Jai Mathura Dham Ki Jai Maya Gangamai Ki Jai, Jamuna Mai Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai, Shrimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. All glories to Samal devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Samal devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Samal devotees, Hare Krishna. Omagina Timarandasya Ganagana Salakaya Chaksurun Militanyena Tajmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swa Padantekam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalan Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajevam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagapate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhi Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Suta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakapa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhaivacha Patitanam Pavenbhyo Vaishnavbhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimate Siddhaswarupananda Paramahansa Niti Namine Namo Siddhaswarupananda Paramahansa Namine Swarupaya Radha Krishna Prastayate. So before speaking, first I offer my respectful obeisances under the lotus feet of my spiritual master, Jagaguru Siddhaswarupananda, Srila Prabhupada, who is very dear to Lord Krishna, having taken shelter at his lotus feet. Srila Prabhupada is the mercy manifestation of Lord Chaitanya, Gaura Karuna Swarupaya, and very dear to Radha and Krishna, Radha Krishna Prastayate. And offer my respectful obeisances to all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, who are like wish-fulfilling trees, able to fulfill all the desires of the falling living entities, and are full of compassion upon them. Haribol, Namaste. Thanks for joining us. Greatly appreciate it. As we continue our journey through Srimad Bhagavad Gita, the beautiful song of Shri Krishna or Shri Bhagavan, the Supreme Person who is full of all opulences, being the most wise, the most famous, the most beautiful, the strongest, the wealthiest, and the most renounced. Bhaga meaning opulence, and Van being full of. Slowly through chapter 2, and chapter 2 in many ways is like a summary of Bhagavad Gita. Touches on a lot of different topics that are later expanded in later parts of the Bhagavad Gita. And it begins with Krishna explaining, or it doesn't quite begin with it, but from text 11 to 30, Krishna explains how we're not the body, that Arjuna is not his body, that we are not our bodies, and that hanyate hanyamani sari re, that the soul is not slain when the body is slain. And so we can't kill anyone, and no one can kill us. So this addressing in many ways, or almost always, Arjuna's concerns. And then from 231 to 237, Krishna then discusses about why Arjuna does not need to be concerned about committing sin, papam. If he engages in killing his family members and relatives on the opposing side. And he explains to Arjuna that it is his duty, or his dharma, his swadharma, his specific dharma, is to engage in the warfare, that by doing so the doors of heaven will be thrown wide open to him, swagadaram. And that actually if he doesn't fight, then he will actually, because of not doing his duty, then he will actually be subjecting himself to future pain or papam, or because he's engaging in sinful activity. To not perform one's duty is against Krishna's wishes, is against the Vedic literatures and the Dharma Shastras and so on. And Krishna speaks on a very practical point of view about how Arjuna, his reputation would be shot if he walks away from the battlefield, that his opponents will call him a coward. He'll become infamous, and that nothing could be worse for Arjuna than this. For the big warrior to be disrespected and vilified for being a coward, or as one of the acharyas said, like a burnt sesame seed. This would be very painful for Arjuna. In fact, Krishna says to him, what could be more painful for you than this? And then in this text 38 that we started to discuss last week, Krishna is now, the Bhagavad Gita, and Krishna is now transitioning to a different topic, to that of Karma Yoga, of working without desire for fruitive results, performing one's duty because that's what one should do. One should perform one's duty without attachment to the results, and being sama, or equal, in happiness and distress, success or failure, victory or defeat. And this very much is, it builds slightly on what Krishna said in texts 14 and 15, or I guess a bit more than slightly. It builds upon what Krishna said in those texts where he advised Arjuna to be Vajraspasas Tukanteya Sitoshna Sugadugadaha Agama Payino Anichas Tams Tutikshasva Bharata, to be equal. In text 14 is O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress, and their disappearance in due course, are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception, O Skayana Bharat, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. O best among men, Arjuna, Purusha Rishabha, the person who is not disturbed by happiness and distress and is steady in both is certainly eligible for liberation. So now Krishna in text 38 builds on what he's described there in those verses. So in text 38, Krishna says, Sukha dukkhe same kritva labha labha jaya jaya tato yudaya yujyasva naivam papa mavapsyase. Do thou fight for the sake of fighting, without considering happiness or distress, loss or gain, victory or defeat, and by so doing you shall never incur sin. An alternative is considering pleasure and pain, gain and loss, victory and defeat to be equal. Prepare yourself for battle without fear of incurring sin. And I think I discussed last week, I didn't actually look back to see what how much I'd covered in text 38. I know I gave quite a long, sort of lengthy introduction before even reading the verse. But this word, Krishna says samakritva. This is in equanimity. So the sameness or equanimity, essentially in happiness or distress. So not being disturbed, being equipoised. It's connected with shanti, being peaceful. Peacefulness means essentially kind of almost like, well, whatever. I don't mind what happens. I'm equal in happiness or distress. So this equanimity is a quality that Krishna describes throughout Bhagavad Gita, and in one of the most quoted verses by Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, chapter 18, text 54, where Krishna describes Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma na sochiti na kankshiti sama saveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labate param. He describes that a person who becomes Brahma Bhuta, in other words, has realized Brahman, realizing Brahman, it's a step beyond the intellectual discussion and understanding that I'm not the body, that I'm Brahma, part of the absolute truth, that I'm eternal spirit soul. In other words, I'm Aham Brahmasmi, I'm a spiritual nature. So one who becomes Brahma Bhuta, realized, actually has actual realization and understanding of this, not just from an intellectual point of view, but from a self-realization point of view, then becomes prasanatma, fully joyful, or jolly. Bhaktivedanta Swami used to like describing it as becoming jolly, so happy. So one who becomes Brahma Bhuta realized becomes very jolly or happy, and is not disturbed, no sochiti, and kankshiti, has no hankering. And sama saveshu bhuteshu means that equal to all other living entities. And a person, mad bhaktim labate param, a person who becomes realized like this, then becomes Krishna's devotee, mad bhaktim. And so anyway, so this idea of sameness or equanimity, equal in happiness and distress, to have no hankering or to have no distress, is repeatedly said by Krishna. I think, as I mentioned last week, in Bhagavad Gita, there's this same concept of equanimity is repeated many times. Many times. In fact, in chapter 12, where a large part through the verses, Krishna, in the end, and where he begins to describe who is very dear to him, who is a devotee and who is dear to him. He says several times here, like this is in text 13 to 14, Sama dukkha sukha gashami. So sama dukkha sukha is who is equal in both happiness and distress. So that's in text 13. In text 15, Krishna says, actually I'm not, Krishna is using slightly different words, but again it's who is equipoised in happiness and distress. Then in text 17, one who neither rejoices nor grieves, who neither laments nor desires, and who renounces both auspicious and inauspicious things, such a devotee is very dear to me. In fact, each of these verses, like in 13, 14, Krishna ends with, such a devotee of mine is very dear to me. 15 ends with, he who has all these qualities, who is equipoised in happiness and distress, is very dear to me. And text 16 again says, such a devotee is very dear to me, who is without cares, free from all pains, and not striving for some result, is very dear to me. And 17, one who neither rejoices nor grieves, who neither laments nor desires. So no sochiti, no kankshiti, which is repeated in 1854. And who renounces both auspicious and inauspicious things. Such a devotee is very dear to me. In text 18 and 19, it's chapter 12, one who is equal to friends and enemies, who is equipoised in honor and dishonor, heat and cold, happiness and distress, fame and infamy, who is engaged in devotional service, such a person is very dear to me. So here you have in this key chapter 12, where Krishna describes the person or the devotee who is very dear to him. He says here, it must be at least 4 or 5 times, how important equanimity is, being equal in happiness and distress, not being caught up in wanting to be happy or wanting to avoid distress, just being equal, equipoised. And I think I mentioned last week, but in text 48, of chapter 2, Krishna says, Yogastha Guru Kamani Sangam Tyaktva Dhananjaya Sijya Sijyo Samo Bhutva Samatvam Yoga Uchite. Perform your duty equipoised, O Arjuna, abandoning all attachment to success or failure. Such equanimity is called yoga. So here we have Sijya Sijyo Samo Bhutva. So being abandoning all attachment or being equal in success or failure. And then Krishna says such equanimity is called yoga. Samatvam yoga uchite. So normally, of course, we, yoga is generally defined as, union, to yoke, to link up. So here Krishna is describing another aspect of yoga, that yoga is equanimity, right? Being equal in happiness and distress, and performing our duty equipoised. And so this is very much the point that Krishna is making here in chapter 2, text 38. That we should be, that do thou fight for the sake of fighting. So Krishna is, of course, in this case, speaking to Arjuna and telling Arjuna to engage in fighting. And of course, we can, maybe fighting, it may be like in the ultimate sense, or in one sense, life is the struggle for existence. Right? This is what life in the material world is. It's the struggle for existence. And so it's a fight. Right? It's like life is like a big struggle, right? It's a big fight. You're fighting against all these difficulties continuously. One difficulty or frustration or obstacle after another. But you have to laugh because, you can't do anything else but laugh, right? Because, if I just think of like today, all the things that went wrong. I had some poor guy came to install a couple of screen doors on our house, and he managed to install one kind of okay. Although first of all he had it on back to front, and I had to tell him no, wrong way around. So he had to change that, and then he came to install the screen door to my office, and the screen door to my office, it's gone all rusty. It's ridiculous. It's like totally rusted out, and even I work from home, and so even like my assistant kind of comes and looks at the door, and she says like it's kind of embarrassing, So anyway, I've kind of let it go way too long. So finally, I bought a replacement screen door, and I can do it myself, but maybe not that good, and I get kind of frustrated with it. So I thought, look, I'll get someone to come and do it. And so anyway, so this guy comes, and he it was taking a long time, and then I had to go into a meeting, a Zoom meeting, and so I had to shut the door so I couldn't see what was going on. And anyway, first of all, before that, he'd stripped the thread on a screw, and it was a special kind of screw, so he had to go and buy another screw at the hardware shop, Hardware Hawaii. And this was kind of frustrating him out, and first of all, he didn't know if he'd even be able to get out the stripped screw. Anyway, he finally got that out. Then he had to go to Hardware Hawaii and buy another screw. Then he comes back, and then I had to go into this Zoom meeting. And then at the end of the Zoom meeting, I just went for an hour and a bit. Anyway, I opened the door, and what's going on? And the old door's back on, totally rusted out. And I'm looking at it, going, "Oh my God, what happened to the nice new one?" And then he's like, he's stripped every screw, and he's just so frustrated. He doesn't have the patience for it, and he's going to go to Home Depot and just buy me a replacement door, and he'll just drop it off, and he's not going to charge me for any of the work he did. He's going to get the replacement door, give it to me, and leave. and he's not going to install it. And I'm like, that's no good. Well, let me at least pay you for the work you did to get the one door on properly, Anyway, he wouldn't have that, and he was just so frustrated. And actually he does work for the business I run, and so I'm kind of like talking to Ariel, my or Abhimanyu Das, like, gee, is this guy any good? You know, because every time I've used him, it's been like a different problems like this. So so I'm not going to use him again. But anyway, he this is just an example of the struggle for existence, the difficulties that one encounters in life, and so just like a simple example. And then anyway, then the other sort of main event of my day was, or a couple of main events. Anyway, I won't go into what all the difficulties I had to struggle through today. But anyway, I just thought, like, this is like a classic example. You just try to do handyman screen door, but no, couldn't put on a screen door. Everything went wrong. He basically wasted his whole day. He had to pay out of his own pocket to replace a door, and of course, so he's totally bummed out, right? So he's all frustrated. So this is the struggle for existence. This is life. This is like fighting. He's doing his duty as a fighter, as a contractor, but he's not equal. He gets, and I don't want to sound like I'm critical of him. I can totally feel his frustration and the difficulty he experienced. But it's like, as we perform our duty, Krishna is advising us, be equal. Right? Be equal. And actually he's calling this, be equal in that's Krishna says here, sukha dukkhe samay kritva. So sukha is happiness. Dukkha or dukkhe is distress. So Krishna is saying to be same, in equanimity. And this is yoga. In chapter 2, text 47, Krishna, or is it 48? 48. Krishna says that such equanimity is yoga. And of course we're trying to consider ourselves to be yogis, right? We're trying to be bhakti yogis. And here Krishna is saying that a yogi, that such equanimity is called yoga. So a yogi is equal in happiness and distress. Sukha dukkha same kritva. And so, how many of us can raise our hand and say, oh, I'm equal in happiness and distress? Possibly not that many of us. And this is a bit of a reality check on where we are in our spiritual development, in our progress as an aspiring yogi. That we become totally absorbed. When we get happiness, we get all elated, and life's just peachy, and we're so happy, we're kind of like situation, or things don't go well for us, and we just get all depressed and miserable, and there's no skipping down the street. We're dragging our feet as we walk, and we have a dejected countenance, and we get depressed. And of course, I'm not going to get into depression and so on, but just and whether that's, anyway, I won't even go there. But just we become absorbed in our mood. If everything's going well, then we're just so happy, and if we hit a couple of bumps along the road, then we just get totally distressed and depressed and dejected. And so if that describes us, or yourself or myself, then we can appreciate, well, I'm not a yogi, because Krishna says that a yogi is equal, equipoised. That such equanimity is called yoga. And we can also, understand, that when Krishna describes in chapter 12 in that series of verses I read, how a person in equanimity is very dear to him. And, if we're not there, well, then we can appreciate, well, I've got some work to do. And so this requires, actual understanding of Krishna's message of Bhagavad Gita. And the see, if we actually understand, right? In other words, Krishna has explained, you're not the body. Arjuna, you're not the body. Okay, in every different way, from Sunday to Monday, and or Sunday to Saturday, and I've been over it in my Bhagavad Gita classes, how Krishna has described to Arjuna that he's not the body, in every different way, and how you're eternal, and so if one has this understanding and appreciation and actual realization and faith and confidence that this is actually the case, that I am not this body, that I'm only temporarily, that I'm an eternal spirit soul, and I'm only temporarily within this body, and that I'm actually not this body, this is not me, I don't even own this body. It got given to me by material nature, by my parents, and they got theirs from their parents. And at the end, I'm going to leave it. And once I've left it, it's just going to be, Bhagavatam describes how it's eaten by jackals and dogs, and of course, in India this can be the case. In the West, of course, it's just either it's thrown in the ground in a box where it's eaten by worms, and it decays, breaks down and rots, turns into a stinking mess, or it's put into a fire and cremated and then put in a little urn and stuck in the ground somewhere, or maybe the ashes are scattered, So this is the future we have. We all have this future. Everyone. Like Krishna says, for one who is born, death is certain. Jatasya hidravo mitra dhruvam janma mritasya cha. For one who is born, death is certain. For one who dies, birth is certain. So for one who is born, death is certain. This is our fate. So we should know this. We have to realize this. Not, it's like Maharaj Yudhisthira says in Mahabharata, that this is the most amazing thing, that although we're sufficiently experienced to understand that this body will die, that everybody dies, still we think it won't happen to us. We live our life as if we're never going to die, as if this world is our home, as if this body is me, that as if these family members are my family members, and that I have a permanent relationship with them. This life, it's example is given in Bhagavatam. It's like a restaurant. It's like you have a restaurant. Of course, not so much these days during the COVID, but pre-COVID. You could go to a restaurant and maybe you'd sit at a table, and there'd be, maybe it's like a cafeteria kind of scene, and anyone can sort of sit at any table. So maybe you'd go and sit at a table and there might be some strangers there. And, you might start talking to these strangers. And you might even establish a relationship, have quite a friendly conversation. And, and then at the end of the meal, they get up, and you get up, and everyone goes their separate ways, and you never see them again. So this is what family relationships are. You somehow or other get given a set of parents under material nature's direction, and under the direction of Paramatma, Lord Paramatma, Super Soul, and Yamaraj, and karmic reaction, so on. One gets given a particular set of parents who give you a particular body with particular DNA, that contains all your genetic code and what your proclivity, what your tendencies are going to be like, what the shape, how your body's going to turn out. They give you either a beautiful body or an ugly body. Maybe you get a deformed body. Maybe you get a body with some disability or problem that comes with it. And maybe you're born in a very wealthy family. Maybe you're born in a very poor family. Maybe you're born into a family of people who abuse you. Maybe you're born into a family where the parents get divorced as soon as you're born. Maybe you're just in a single mother family. So anyway, we take birth in this family, and we have our family members, and then at the end of some of them start dying off before we do, like our parents go. Like in my case, I remember my grandparents leaving, dying. It's like that was very painful. I remember when my grandmother died, I remember lying on the bed in my room. I used to share a room with one of my brothers, and we were both crying because we loved our grandmother, and she died. And anyway, I'm sure you've all had this experience. Anyway, and then my parents have died. My father only recently, a few months ago, and this is very painful. But anyway, they go, and we don't know where they go. We don't know where they go, and then when we die, we're going to go somewhere, and we may never see or have any connection with these people ever again. Ever again. Or even if we do, we won't know it. So it's like, another example in Bhagavad, it's like sticks in a river. The sticks are floating down the river, and sometimes they come together like this for a little while, and then they separate and go their own ways. So this is the nature of this world. And so if we have this realization and appreciation that I'm not this body, that I'm eternal spirit soul, and like this word eternal, nitya or sanatana, eternal. All nitya is always eternal. So it's like, we're not talking about 200 years. We're not talking about 100 years. We're not talking about 1,000 years. We're not talking about 100,000 years. We're not talking about 1,000,000 years. We're not talking about 1,000,000,000 years. We're not talking about 1,000,000,000,000 years. We're talking about always eternal. So how many lifetimes have you lived? How many times have you become, had relations and become attached to them, and then they've died or you've died, right? Over the course of and you exist forever. You never came into existence, like Krishna says in text 20, Bhutva Bhavita Vana Bhuyaha. You have not come into being, you do not come into being, and you will not come into being. You are eternal, ever existing. Anyway, I guess I don't need to quote. You all know these verses, or should know them. So the point I'm making here in kind of a roundabout, long-winded way is that if you actually understand this, realize it, have the appreciation that this is the reality, which it is. That aham brahmasmi, I am Brahman, I am spirit soul, I am Brahma, ever existing, eternal, undying. And that I am not this body, and then you can be equal. On the foundation of this realization and appreciation of the reality, then you can understand the nature of this world. That it's temporary, it's false in the sense that it's temporary, it's like a dream, has no substance, has no reality to it. You can appreciate that the goal of life is to actually attain love for Krishna, and that while we're in this world we do our business and try to get out. This was Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's Saraswati Thakur's saying that this world is like a stool house. Do your business and get out. So we can understand that the nature of this world is birth, diseases, old age, and death. Hassles caused by our own body and mind, hassles caused by other living entities, hassles caused by natural and social forces. So this is adhyatmika, adhibautika, and adhidaivika, and that we're always in anxiety, experiencing anxiety. Will I get what I want? In anxiety, will I lose what I have? And then lamentation that I've lost what I had. That this is the nature of this world. So with this philosophical understanding, but it has to be more than just philosophy. Of course, you can read this in a book, or we can hear Srila Prabhupada say this, or you can hear me say it now. But if we actually understand this, actually realize it, appreciate it, then we can become actually equal. As Krishna is saying here to Arjuna, to be equal in happiness and distress, in success or failure, in victory or defeat. And Krishna says here, fight for the sake of fighting. And all the acharyas in their commentaries here are saying that, this fighting, do this fighting for the sake of fighting. Krishna is saying, perform your duty. Do your duty for the sake of performing your duty. And that if you do this in the mood of seeking liberation, or and ultimately, as Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami says very clearly in his purport, as he does in all his purports, that we do what Krishna wants us to do. We engage in devotional service. So Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, he takes this Krishna saying, do your fighting for the sake of fighting. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada takes it that Krishna is telling him, fight because I want you to fight. In other words, engage in devotional service. Be equal in happiness and distress. I want you to do it. Don't be attached to the result. Don't care whether you win or lose. Don't worry about that. Just do what I want you to do. And this, of course, ultimately, this is the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita. Chapter 18, text 66, Savadhamman Parityaja Mamikam Saranam Braja. So, abandon all varieties of dharma, all varieties of duty. So the duty of fighting, abandon the idea of just performing your duty. Just surrender unto me. Mamikam Saranam Braja. Mam, me, ekam. One-pointedly. Sharanam, surrender. Raja, go with emphasis. Or acharyas sometimes comment that this Raja, of course, is in the mood of Raj, in the mood of love for Krishna, and as in the mood of the inhabitants of Vrindavan Dham. So in other words, in a very personal relationship, either as a friend or a parent or as a lover. So in a very intimate way. surrendering to Krishna, loving Krishna. So I'm not going to discuss this verse again next week. We'll have to move on. 2 weeks on one verse is certainly enough. But there is a couple of points that I haven't made that are in some of the commentaries by the acharyas. So I'll just read some of these. So here's Srila Sridhara Swami, one of the original commentators on Bhagavad Gita, whom Lord Chaitanya placed great importance upon. He says, the attribute of equanimity is absolute freedom from elation and despondency. Giving up all notions of what is pleasurable, being equipoised by whatever comes of its own accord, and by fighting the battle as a matter of kshatriya duty, Arjuna will not incur any sin. So I thought this was quite amazing. The attribute of equanimity is absolute freedom from elation and despondency. So freedom from becoming overly elated and from becoming despondent. And so we might be able to get, being free from despondency would be kind of good, but I kind of like being elated. Here Sridhara Swami is saying that no, we should be free from this tendency towards elation and despondency, and giving up all notions of what is pleasurable, being equipoised to whatever comes of its own accord. So when this comes of its own accord, of course, in Bhagavatam there's different descriptions of when Prahlad Maharaj, this is in the 5th canto, must be subsequent, the 5th canto, 7th canto, but Prahlad Maharaj meets a sage who is, he's just lying like a python, and he's just eating whatever comes by itself, so that's like a total renunciate, someone very renounced. But here in this sort of instance, saying Sridhara Swami, being equipoised to what comes of its own accord and fighting the battle. So in other words, we're not responsible for the result. We can't create the result. We have to do our bit. We perform our duty, and we do it to the best of our ability. And any of you who've had the opportunity to work closely with Srila Prabhupada on a project, Prabhupada demands the absolute best. You need to be all in, putting all your effort into it. For Krishna, we're working for Krishna, and we need to do our very best and use all of our mental abilities and physical abilities and all our resources and just be focused on getting the result, because we're serving our spiritual master and Krishna. Srila Prabhupada is trying to please Krishna and his spiritual master by whatever it is he's focused on. And so we need to focus on this. But we're not responsible for the result. We don't create the result. The result, so many different factors are involved in what the result will be. So many factors totally beyond our control. Right? We're dealing with other people, dealing with governments, we're dealing with the natural and social forces, so we're not in control. Krishna is in control. So whatever comes from Krishna. We're not responsible. So actually here in text 47, Krishna says, you have a right to perform your prescribed duty, but you are not entitled to the fruits of action. Never consider yourself the cause of the results of your activity. Ma kama phala hetu abur. So don't consider yourself to be the cause of the results of your activities. You're doing your activities to the very best of your ability, but you're not responsible for the you're not the cause of the result. You do your bit, but ultimately Krishna is responsible for what comes. So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, being equal in happiness and distress, which are caused by gain and loss, such as gain and loss of a kingdom, which are in turn caused by victory and defeat in the war, understanding that both results are equal through a equipped with sin. So again, this is important. So understanding that both results are equal through a discerning mind. So in other words, so a spiritualist or a yogi sees happiness or distress as the same. Right? In other words, it's just material life. I remember Tusti used to give kind of a crude example. You know, you know that if there's stool on the ground, there's there's the top side where it's kind of crusty, and then the other side where it's like yucky, right, all moist. So he used to liken it to the crusty side is like the good side, and it's kind of a gross example. Excuse me, but anyway, it's like happiness and distress. They're the other side of the same coin, the coin of material life, and this world is not our home. We can't be truly happy here. We will never actually be happy here. We'll be happy in the spiritual world with Krishna, where we can experience peacefulness and bliss, shantim anandam. So Srila Vishwanath refers to chapter 5, text 10, where he says that one who performs his duty without attachment. So once again, Krishna is just stressing, and this is actually what karma yoga is, right? Working without attachment to the results. One who performs his duty without attachment, surrendering the results unto the Supreme Lord. So this is ultimately Krishna's, we just surrender the results to Krishna, is unaffected by sinful action, as a lotus leaf is untouched by water. So Srila Baladev Vijayabhusana says, being equal, sama, means to remain unchanging in this world in all circumstances. Not being attached, restating what Krishna is saying, not being attached to happiness and its cause, victory, and not having dislike of unhappiness and its cause, not attaining a kingdom due to defeat, being of unchanging heart, engage in fighting. Engage in fighting only because it is your duty. One who fights with hankering for material results incurs sin, but one who desires true knowledge destroys infinite sins accumulated from the past. Then he has Arjuna's thought, how does one become inclined to fighting, charity, or other actions without desire for results? It is difficult. So in other words, we're such fruitive workers. We only do something if we're going to get a result out of it. I mean, who does something without wanting a result? So this is kind of Arjuna's asking the kind of obvious question. Well, how does one become inclined to fighting, charity, or other actions, in other words, to do anything, without desire for results? It is difficult. Then expressing Krishna's thought, understand that attachment to the infinite bliss of the Atma is the inspiration. Understand that attachment to the infinite bliss of the Atma is the inspiration. So we should be attached to Krishna and uncover our Sat Chitananda nature, eternity, cognizance, and bliss, Sat Chitananda. So anyways, thank you very much. Next week we shall move on to text 39, where we shall explore further the concepts of Karma Yoga, and Krishna mentions Buddhi Yoga, intelligence yoga, the yoga of intelligence, or using one's intelligence in yoga. And so stay tuned, and it's a very nice verse that we'll discuss next week. So thank you very much. Haribol.
Hello, everyone. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Haribol, everybody. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
It's great to be with you and have your association. Namaste, Hari Nama, Hari Nama, Hari Nama.